we can see that it's jamming like we want it to, and then it'll fall off after we've jammed it for too long, and again. And with that, if we go to the correct location like -57 or between the margin error, we can open our lock, and that's that. Hey there, I'm your host Zoe, and this is part 4 of our lockpicking system. In today's video, we will be creating the lock generation. And with that said, let's begin. We will start by creating a function that will generate a value for us that we need to meet in order to open the door. So let's open up our content drawer, open up our lockpicking actor, and in here on the functions area, we'll create a new function called generate lock. And in here, we want to grab a random float in range. You could also do this with an integer if you want. And the minimum and the maximum value is going to be the rotation of our lockpick. So since the lockpick goes between -90 and 90, that's what we'll input in here. And the value will be generated somewhere between that. With this done, we'll promote this to a variable and we'll call this the unlock value, unlock condition, whatever you wish. Just like so. And then just to make it easier for ourselves for testing, we'll do a print string and we'll grab this value and put it in here. So every time the lock is generated, we see it on the screen, and let's make it maybe stay for a minute rather than just 2 seconds, and change the color to white. Something like this. And we'll come back here later, then delete it. So compile and save this part. And then next on the event begin play, here on the event graph, we want to call this function. So every time we interact with this lock, we will generate a new combination for us to mess around with. So with that, we'll generate the lock. We then want to bind, so we'll do a bind event on lockpick correct. And we're binding to this event dispatcher here that we've made earlier, which we are calling, I believe, where are we calling this? We're calling this right here, which is our forward lock rotation. So once we meet this condition, it will then call this event dispatcher. So in here, we'll do a create event. And the event we want to input in here is the success event for our lockpick. So our lockpick success. There we go. So what we can do is, let's look for it here. Lockpicking successful. And just like that, this should be good. So let's compile and save. Next, we want to go ahead and create another function, this time for checking if we're meeting that unlock condition. So we'll call this check unlock status. And in here, what we want to do is a cool function called nearly equal. And we're doing this with a float since I'm using a float. And our A value is going to be the lockpick rotation. So we'll put this in here. And our B value is going to be the unlock value we just made. And then the error tolerance, this is up to you. You could put a hard-coded value in here, or we can even create a variable down here called error margin, like so. Make it a float. And if we compile, we could give this like a value to begin with. Let's say 30 is the error margin. So a pretty easy lock to pick. We'll get it and we'll just put it in there. Like so. Right. And with this then we'll grab a return node like so. And we'll output this in here. And we can call it, let's say, the return value or success, or maybe it was unsuccessful. So let's compile that, close this off, and let's create let's go into our WSAD movement. Where was this? WSAD. We want to find you. Where are you? Oh, there we are. Okay, so in here then, I can close this off. And we want to create, on the very top, we want to check if we have met this condition. So we're going to grab this guy And this, by the way, can be a pure function since we're not writing any values, we're just reading them. So we can do that. We can then do a branch, plug this in here. And from here on true, we are going to do our forward lock rotation. And if this is false, well, then we will do the play lock jammed function. Do we have this? We do not. So we need to create it. So let's go ahead and create a custom event, and we'll call this our play lock jammed. Right. From here, like we did before, we'll do a set timer by event. And this is how often you want this to run. So again, we'll do 0.02 on looping. And from here, we'll do a promotion of this value. And this will be called our jammed lock timer or jammed lock, whatever you want. And we then want to grab this event and do a custom event, calling it our update jammed lock. And this event will run every 0.02 seconds. We then want to grab a branch to check if we are rotating the lock. So is lock rotating? And we'll do a sequence then, like so. And on 0, we want to grab a flip flop, like so. And this flip flop will it'll go between a value A and a value B. So if we're rotating the lock, it'll keep going, bouncing back and forward, giving us that jammed effect. So what we can do is, let's create a variable in here. Or do we have one? We don't. So let's call this our jammed value. And we'll set it. So A will set to something like a -6. And then B will set back to 0. So it'll just keep bouncing back and forth, back and forth. Then on 1, we want to set the lock rotation. So where is our lock rotation? Here we are. We want to set this. And this value will come again from our lock rotation scene. So lock rotation scene, we'll grab this. We'll get the relative location, or my bad, the relative rotation is what we want. Again, we'll do combine rotators like we did previously. B value will split and the jammed value will go into A. We'll split this value in here. The X value, which is the jammed value there, gets set. Or before we actually do that, we want to clamp this. So let's do a clamp float. And you're doing this between -6 and 0. And then this goes in there. Okay, and we're golden. And next, we'll grab this again. And we'll do a set relative rotation, like so. Plugging this in there. Very nice. We can split this because we need to connect this into our X, and this into Y, and this into Z. And then at the very end, we'll have a code to break our lockpick. So for the moment, this is all we need. This is our jammed lock finished. So since that's the case, we can come back in here then and call our jammed lock function, which is going to be at the very bottom, play lock jammed. Plug it in there like so, and we can close this once again off, making it look nicer. And is this bubbled? It is. So this then can also be commented, and we can comment it jammed lock rotation, right? Add a full stop in there as well. Why not? And we'll bubble it if it lets me. Thank you. And then at the very end, we'll play our drain lockpick held or something. Next, let's go ahead and create that function for draining the lockpick held. So create a custom event and we'll call it our drain lockpick held. Okay, and for this, we will need to create another variable calling it our lockpick health, and we'll keep this as a float. So we want to get it. And next we'll do a subtraction and we'll minus a value from this. Now this is up to you. Now I think a value of 4 is reasonable, and we'll do a clamp, right? We'll do a clamp float. And this again will be between 0, which is our death condition for the lockpick, and the maximum value of 100, which is our lockpick health. Now you could of course go ahead and create another variable, max lockpick health, but I think this is just fine. We then want to set this as our lockpick health. Logging in this there. This goes like this. And we want to check if this is below or equal to 0. And if that's the case, well then we have destroyed our lockpick and we should decrement it. So we have this function called getHero, which we've made earlier in previous episodes. And I believe we should have a lockpick variable in our player, get lockpicks. Yes, we do. So if we have done this, well then we want to decrement our lockpick by 1. So we'll do minus minus to make that happen. I like so. So our lockpick has been decremented because it has died. Then we want to create another event dispatcher. So we'll create one here. Getting very crowded. We'll call this on lockpick broken. And this is for our UI to know. So in here, we want to click on the inputs and we want to create this to be an integer. And for the input value, we'll call this our lockpicks or lockpicks left, whatever you like. So we'll then call this. We want to call that, plug in the value there, like so. And then instantly we will bind on lockpick broken. Like so, we'll do a custom event out of this, calling it no more lock. So we're just checking if do we have any more or is this the end? And once again, we'll just check is less than or equal to 0. So, okay, you're out of locks. Good luck. Plug this into condition like so. And yeah, we'll call our lockpick failed. So just to remind you again, show you where it's at. Lockpicking failed. So the condition is, okay, well, we've ended the lockpicking or we have failed it. So that's all we're calling there. And we can find it in here, or we can just do lockpicking failed. And that's that. And let's say we haven't, we'll then do getHero, get lockpicks again, and check if this value here is greater than 0. That means then we have lockpicks to play around with. Plug this in there, straighten this out a little bit. Thank you. And we then will do our lockpick animation. So do we have this lock anim? We do not. So let's go ahead and create that. For this, we will right click and create another custom event, calling it our lockpick anim or animation. I'll go anim for short. We then want to grab our lockpicks. So lockpick 1, lockpick 2, and this again just refers to our lockpicks in here that are currently set to be invisible. Where are you? There we are. So they're invisible by default. And we want to do set visibility to be true once the lockpick has been broken. So this is just for the animation of it. And the lockpick itself, so the fully functioning lockpick, will set visibility to be false. So this now gets set to invisible. With that done, we want to grab our lockpick 2 and we want to add some physics to it. So we'll do set simulate physics to be true. And we then will do also set collision enabled to, what was it called? no collision, I think we'll do for now. Drag this over here. So set simulate physics true or false. Yeah, we just want to update it at the beginning. So we'll do simulate physics false and collision, no collision. We'll then grab our lockpick broken to it part again. And we'll do set relative transform. Set relative transform like this. And the new transform will come from our lockpick broken one. So we'll grab this and do get relative transform. And this is just so that when it does come back to us, it spawns at its correct place again for it to animate properly again. So we'll here do then a set timer by event. So this is how long it takes for it to react. We'll do 0.1 of a second to a custom event. And we'll call this our begin animation. So when the animation begins, we then are doing this here. Now, once again, this is just for updating it at the very beginning, because when I was playing around with it, didn't quite like what I was doing. So this fixes it. Okay. And next we can have a delay of a 1 second, let's say. And after this has been completed, we'll then again set what we have here. But we are doing no physics and no collision. But for this part here, we of course want simulate physics, and we want this to be physics collision enabled, query, and physics. Let's just move this back a little bit as well. Okay, and this should be it, I believe. Now, if anything is wrong, we'll come back. So comment this code, and we'll call this our lockpick animation. There we go. Full stop, bubble it, and we can come back in here then. And on true, we'll do our lockpick anim. And then after this is done, we want to create a new lockpick. So let's go ahead and create a function for that as well. So in here, we'll do a right click, create another custom event, calling it our new lockpick. And as we've done before, we'll do a set timer by event again, because we don't want this to be instant. We want this to have like a delay. Now, this is personal preference. You can have it instantly if you want. So we'll do a custom event again, and this will be our add new lockpick, like so. Okay, and then we'll grab our lockpick. We want to set the visibility to be visible again, because if you remember, we've made this invisible for ourselves, so this becomes visible. We then want to grab two of our friends here and set this to be invisible again. So invisible. We then want to reset our lockpick health. That's important. Lockpick health. So set to 100. And we then will create I want a custom event called a reset lockpick, which I think we'll be calling somewhere down there. So in here, we then just do a reset lockpick. So we're calling that part. And at the very end, we want to enable the input, because in here, as this begins, we are going to disable it. So first of all, we'll do is lock rotating. We'll set this to be false. Otherwise, if you disable the input, it will keep rotating. We don't want that. We'll do get player character controller, and do a disable input, like so. This should go in the controller, not the target itself. And then at the very end, we are enabling input once again for this actor here. So move this to player controller. Okay, and that's us done for this part. So comment this code, and we'll call it our add new lockpick, full stop, and let's bubble it. Next, let's head back into our drain lockpick health. And after we've played the lock animation, we want to call our add, or not add new lockpick here, like so. And this function that we're calling in the new lockpick will go into here. And after the branch, we actually want to do a do once. So we'll press O and left mouse on our keyboard for our shortcut. Select all of this stuff here, move it forward, and we'll put this guy in here. Uncompleted, this goes there, and this resets it for us. Okay, so that's looking nice. We should be able to comment our code in here then. So let's select all of this, comment it, our drain lockpick health, full stop, and show bubbled when zoomed. So I'm confident this should work, but let's also go ahead and finish off our widget first before we go and test it. So let's go ahead and open up our content drawer, open the UI, WB_lockpicking in the event graph, and we can get rid of everything apart from event construct. In here then, we want to grab our lockpicking actor and do a get, do a validated get, and we'll then do a bind on lockpick broken. And we'll do a custom, or let's do a create event. Why not? And we'll call it create a matching event. And we can call it on lockpick broken. Okay, so we've done that. And back in here, we want to get our hero. We want to get the lockpicks we have. Now again, if you had an inventory, this would be coming from your inventory, but we sadly don't have that. We'll grab our text lockpicks and do a set text like so. Plug this in there. And this shall be formatted. So format text and do lockpicks double colon. We'll do a curly brackets, smack in something like an X or a text. Close those curly brackets off. This will go into our value. And now our text knows at the beginning, hey, we have this many lockpicks. Now when they get broken, we need to update it. So we'll come back here. And in here, we want to grab basically all of this stuff here, copy paste. And our lockpicks are going to come from there. And we're just updating that value like so. And that's us done. So let's compile and save everything. And let's see if our system works. So by default, I think in our player character, third person, blueprints, we had set this to have 6 lockpicks. So let's do, let's say 4 lockpicks now. Compile and save that. If we go ahead and play our game, open this up, boom, we have 4 lockpicks. So let's say I try to move around and it's not the -87, it gets jammed like so, okay. So still not there yet, but close enough. It just goes forward, it doesn't go bounce backwards. But gets jammed and then this slides off. So a little bit of fixing, but if we're at 87 from the start, maybe does that work? 87, 72 this time, it does not. So a little bit more to do. So the first issue that I found was with our forward lock rotation event. So in here, we want to come back after we've created our jammed lock. We want to get that timer and do a pause timer by handle. And we'll plug this in here like this. And we also want to click on our lockpick, set its health to 100. Otherwise, we'll be breaking them instantly. And as well as that, in our play lock jammed event, we want to call this drain lockpick health at the very end. So this will fix few things for us, but not entirely. So if we go and play, we now can, so the unlock condition is -8, right? So we can unlock it from the get-go. And if we're not in that, this is what we get. Lockpick breaks, but it doesn't come back to its original location. And yeah, I don't like this. It should be jamming. But other than that, it's fine. And we should also be able to open up the door. So what's the unlock condition? -54. Wrong side. And there we go. The door is opened. So we need to come back and fix the jam. So for the jammed locked value, this was quite easy to resolve actually. My values were simply too extreme. So in your set timer by event, bring this, let's say, to like a 0.05 or even a little bit higher if you want. And then for the jammed value, I put it to -3 and 3. So it bounces back and forth between those values. And with this, if we compile and save and then go and play the game, we can see that it's jamming like we want it to, and then it'll fall off after we've jammed it for too long, and again. And with that, if we go to the correct location like -57 or between the margin error, we can open our lock, and that's that. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And as always, happy developing.